To our kind-hearted instructor, Ma'am Nerissa and Beatriz, my online classmates, a pleasant day to everyone. My name is Rica Francisco Arnedo, a teacher 1 from Umbao National High School, Bula District, Division of Camarines Sur. So my topic that I am going to discuss is about DEPED Order number 40, series of 2012, also known as the Child Protection Policy. Now, what are the legal basis for this policy? The state shall protect the right of children to assistance, including proper care and nutrition and special protection from all forms of neglect, abuse, cruelty, exploitation, and other conditions of prejudicial to their development. All educational institutions shall inculcate patriotism and nationalism, foster love of humanity, respect of human rights, teach the rights and duties of the citizenship, strengthen ethical and spiritual values, develop moral character and personal discipline, encourage critical and creative thinking, broaden scientific and technological knowledge, and promote vocational efficiency. Under the Family Code of the Philippines, in the Presidential Decree number 603, empower the school, its administrators and teachers, or the individual, entity, or institution engaged in child care to exercise the special parental authority and responsibility over the minor child while under their supervision, instruction, or custody. So authority and responsibility shall apply to all authorized activities, whether inside or outside the premises of the school, entity, or institution. So the coverage of this policy are the children who are enrolled in the basic educational system, the school personnel such as school head, teaching or non-teaching personnel, and the school visitors or guests, which is the media, suppliers or bidders, parents and guardians, and etc. So the main objective is or are the following. First is to prevent child abuse, discrimination against children, child exploitation, violence against children in school, corporal punishment, any analogous or similar acts, and bullying or peer abuse. So child abuse refers to the maltreatment of a child, whether habitual or not, which include any of the following. First is the psychological or physical abuse, neglect, cruelty, sexual abuse, and emotional maltreatment. Then, any act by deeds or words which debases, degrades, or demeans the intrinsic worth and dignity of a child as a human being. Then, unreasonable deprivation of a child's basic needs for survival, such as foods and shelter, or failure to immediately give a medical attention or treatment to an injured child, resulting in serious impairment of his or her growth and development, or in the child permanent incapacity or death. So this is under Section 3 of RA 7610. So there are different forms of child abuse. First is the physical abuse. It is an act that inflict bodily or physical harm, which is boxing, kicking, slapping, spanking, and etc. Next is sexual abuse. So this includes rape, sexual harassment, acts of lasciviousness, making demeaning and sexually suggestive remarks, physical attacking sexual parts, and forcing a child to watch obscene publication and shows. So we have here psychological abuse. This causes mental and emotional suffering of the child. So this includes intimidation, harassment, stalking, damage to property, public ridicule, threat of deduction of grade, of form of a punishment, and repeated verbal abuse. So discrimination regarding sex, creed, and race. So discrimination against children, this refers to an act of exclusion, distinction, restriction, or preferences which is based on any such of the following: age, ethnicity, sex, property, birth, being infected or affected by HIV or age, being pregnant, being a child in conflict with the law, or being a child with disability or status or condition. Child exploitation. So under the child exploitation, this refers to the use of children or someone else's advantage, gratification, or profit, often resulting in an unjust, cruel, and harmful treatment of the child. So this activity disrupts the child's normal physical or mental health, education, moral, or social, emotional development. So it covers situations of manipulations, misuse, abuse, victimization, oppressions, or ill treatment. So we have here violation against children in school. So this refers to a single act or a series of acts committed by school administrators, academic and non-academic personnel against a child, which result in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, psychological harm or suffering, or other abuses, including threats of such acts, battery, assault, coercion, harassment, or arbitrary deprivation of a liberty. So next is the corporal punishment. So under corporal punishment, this refers to a kind of punishment or penalty imposed for an alleged or actual offense which is carried out or inflicted for the purpose of discipline, training, or control by a teacher, a school administrator, an adult, or any other child who has been given or has assumed authority or responsibility for punishment or discipline. So we have here the following. So we have here the different types of corporal punishment. Number one is blows, such as but not limited to beating, kicking, hitting, slapping, or lashing of any part of a child's body, with or without the use of any instrument, such as, but not limited to, a cane, a broom, stick, whip, or belt. Next is striking of a child's face or head, such as being declared as a no-contact zone, pulling of hair, shaking, twisting joints, cutting or piercing skin, dragging, pushing or throwing of a child, then forcing a child to perform physically painful or damaging acts such as, but not limited to, holding a weight or weights for an extended period and kneeling on stones, salt, pebbles, or other objects. So we have here deprivation of a child's physical needs as a form of punishment. Next is deliberate exposure to fire, ice, water, smoke, sunlight, rain, pepper, alcohol, or forcing the child to swallow substances, dangerous chemicals, and other materials that can cause discomfort or threaten the child's health, safety, and sense of security, such as, but not limited to, bleach or insecticides, excrements, or urine. So we have here tying up a child, confinement, imprisonment, or depriving the liberty of a child. Next is a verbal abuse or assault, including intimidation or threat of a bodily harm, swearing or cursing, ridiculing, or denigrating the child, forcing a child to wear a sign, to undress or disrobe, or to put on anything that will make a child look or feel foolish, which belittles or humiliate the child in front of others. Permanent confiscation of personal property of pupils, students, or learners, except when such pieces of property pose a danger to the child or to others, and other analogous acts. So we have here another is the bullying or peer abuse. So under bullying or peer abuse, this refers to a willful, aggressive behavior that is directed towards a particular victim who may be outnumbered, younger, weak, with disability, less confident, or otherwise vulnerable. More particularly, number one, bullying. It is committed when a student commits an act or a series of acts directed towards another student, or a series of single acts directed toward several students in a school setting or a place of learning, which results in physical and mental abuse, harassment, intimidation, or humiliation. Such acts may consist any of the following. We have here the different acts of bullying. Number one, threats to inflict a wrong upon the person, honor or property of a person, or on his or her family. Stalking or constantly following or pursuing a person in his or her daily activities with an unwanted and obsessive attention. Next is taking of a property. Another form is a public humiliation or public and malicious imputations of a crime or of a vice or defect, whether real or imaginary, or any act, omission, condition, status, or circumstance tending to cause dishonor, discredit, or expose a person to contempt. So we have here deliberate destruction or defacement of or damage to the child's property. Physical violence committed upon a student which may or may not result to harm or injury with or without the aid of a weapon. Such violence may be in form of mauling, hitting, punching, kicking, throwing things at the students, pinching, spanking, or other similar acts. We have here demanding or requiring sexual or monetary favors or exacting money or property from a pupil or students and restraining the liberty and freedom of a pupil or students. Next is a cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is any conduct defined in the preceding paragraph as resulting in harassment, intimidation, or humiliation through electronic means or other technologies such as, but not limited to texting, email, instant messaging, chatting, internet, social networking websites, or other platforms or formats. So we have the different duties and responsibilities of the school. So the school head shall have the following responsibility. First is to ensure the institution of effective child protection policies and procedures and monitor compliance thereof. Another, ensure that the school adopts a child protection policy. So next, ensure that all pupils, students, and learners, school personnel, parents, guardians, or custodians, and visitors and guests are made aware of the child protection policy. So organize and convene the child protection committee for the school. Conduct the capacity building activities for the members of the child protection committee and guidance counselors and teachers. Funding or conduct disciplinary proceedings in the cases of offenses committed by the pupils, students, or learners. So another is ensure the participatory and other rights of children are respected and upheld in all matters and procedures affecting their welfare. Then, maintain a record of all the proceedings related to bullying or peer abuse and submit after each school year to the division office the record and a copy of the intake form under Annexes A and B respectively. Next is conduct the appropriate training and capability building activities on child protection measures and protocols. Then ensure that the school adopts a student code of conduct to be followed by every pupil, students, or learner while on school grounds or when traveling to and from school or during a school-sponsored activity and during lunch period whether on or off campus. So another is adopt such conflict resolution mechanisms that respects the right of indigenous peoples, provided that they conform to this department order and they uphold the rights of the child. Next is coordinate with appropriate offices and other agency or instrumentality for the appropriate assistance and intervention as may be required in the performance of each functions. So another is coordinate with the Department of the Social Welfare and Development or the appropriate government agency or non-governmental organizations on the child protection hotline for reporting abuse, violence, exploitation, discrimination, bullying, and other similar acts, and for counseling. And the last one is ensure that all incidents of abuse, violation, exploitation, discrimination, bullying, and other similar acts are addressed in accordance with the provision of the department order. So we have here the duties and responsibilities of the school personnel. First, we have to exercise special parenting authority and responsibility over the child while under their supervision, instruction, and custody. Authority and responsibility shall apply to all authorized activities, whether inside or outside the premises of the school, entity, or institution. Okay, next is to keep them in their company and support, educate the instruction them by right, precept, and other good example. Another is to give them love and affection, advice and counsel, companionship and understanding. Okay, so enhance, protect, preserve, and maintain their physical and mental health at all times. Furnish them with good and wholesome educational materials. Supervise their activities, recreation, and associations with others. Protect them from bad company and prevent them from acquiring habits detrimental to their health, studies, and morals. So another is represent them in all matters affecting their interest. Inculcate the value of respect and obedience. Then, practice positive and nonviolent discipline as may be required under the circumstances, provided that in no cases shall corporal punishment be inflicted upon them. And the last one, the school personnel shall also strict comply with the school's child protection policy. So we have here the different duties, responsibilities of our pupils, students, and the learners. So learners, or the pupils, students, and learners shall have the following duties and responsibility. So first, they have to comply with the school's regulations as long as they are in the harmony with their best interest. So pupils, students, and learners shall refrain from engaging in discrimination or leading a group of pupils or students to discriminate another with the reference to other physical appearance, weaknesses, and status of any sort. Then doing any act that is inappropriate or sexually provocative. Then participating in behavior or other students that is illegal, unsafe, or abusive. Next is marking or damaging school property, including the books or in any way. Next is engaging in fights or any aggressive behavior. Then introducing into the school's premises or other possessing prohibited articles such as deadly weapons, drugs, alcohol, toxic and noxious substance like cigarettes and pornographic materials, and performing other similar acts that can cause damage or injury to others. So another is an allegation that any of these acts has been committed shall not be used to curtail the child's basic rights or interpreted to defeat the objective of this department order. First is conduct themselves in accordance with their levels of development, maturity, demonstrate capabilities with the proper regards to the rights and welfare of other persons, respect another person's rights and regardless of opinion, status, gender, ethnicity, religion, as well as everyone's moral and physical integrity, and observe the code of conduct for pupils, students, and learners. So, in establishing the Child Protection Committee, we have the CPC shall be composed of the following. First is the school head or the administrator or the chairperson. Then the guidance counselor, teacher, or the vice chairperson. So it composed also of the representative of the teacher as designated by the faculty club, a representative of parents designated by the Parent Teachers Association, representative of pupils, students, and learners as designated by the Supreme Student Council, and a representative from the community as designated by the Punong Barangay, preferably a member of the Barangay Council for the protection of the children. We have the CPC shall perform the following function. So we have to draft a school child protection policy with a code of conduct and a plan to ensure the child protection and safety, which shall be reviewed every 3 years. Initiate information dissemination programs and organize activities for the protection of the child. Develop and implement a child-based referral and monitoring system. Then, establish a system for identifying the students who may be suffering from significant harm based on any physical, emotional, or behavioral signs. Then, identify, refer, and if appropriate, report to the appropriate offices cases involving the child abuse, exploitation, violence, discrimination, and bullying. Then another is to give assistance to parents or guardians whenever necessary in securing expert guidance counseling from the appropriate offices or the institution. So another is coordinate closely with the Women Child Protection Desk of the Philippines or the Philippine National Police, the local Social Welfare and Development Office or LSWDO, other government agencies and non-government organizations as may be appropriate. Then, monitor the implementation of the positive measures and effective procedures in providing the necessary support for the child and for those who care for the child, and ensure that the children's right to be heard are respected and upheld in all matters and procedures affecting their welfare. So under Section 5, we have the rules and procedures in handling the child abuse, exploitation, violation, and discrimination cases, rules, and procedures. So first is expeditious conduct of investigations and reporting of the cases. Then next is school head or the school's division superintendent shall forward the complaint and intake sheet within the 48 hours to disciplining authority, who shall issue an order for the conduct of a fact-finding investigation not later than 72 hours from the submission. So, upon the receipt of the complaint, the school head shall properly fill up the intake sheet Annex B or the DEPED Order number 40 series of 2012. She have to conduct intervention program to the parties or the students. Intervention made by the guidance counselor is made in series programs and to be reported to the regional office. So if the school have no guidance counselor, referred to the nearest school guidance counselor or the DSWD. So note, the school personnel should not be allowed to settle and investigate child abuse cases in the school without proper authorization. So we have here the jurisdiction. Complaints of child abuse, violations, discrimination, exploitation, bullying, and other acts of abuse under department order shall be within the exclusive jurisdiction of the department and shall not be brought for amicable settlements before the barangay, subject to existing laws, rules, and regulations. Complaints for act committed by the persons not under the jurisdiction of the disciplinary authority of the department shall be referred to the appropriate offices or the authorities. If the person complained of is non-teaching personnel, the school's division superintendent shall cause the conduct of a fact-finding investigation within the same period. So, for a criminal and civil liability shall not be a bar to filing of an administrative cases. So, under the revised rules of the procedures of DepEd in the administrative cases, DepEd Order Number 49, Series of 2006, shall apply in all other aspects. So the identity of the other information that may be reasonably identify the pupil or student shall remain confidential, and the identity of the respondent or the teacher shall likewise be confidential too. So that's all for this report, and thank you.